Hello! Okay, I got about a 40-minute video for you, and I had to take my speedometer out because it busted, and then I put in a spare I had, but it didn't work right, so I had to get another one and put it in. Telltale signs were wavering. It wouldn't keep steady or anything, and I was on about a 150-mile ride, and 60 miles in, it just really gave out. Once I pulled off, I could hear a noise. Listen to this. Oh, you probably can't hear it. It's my speedometer screaming at me. (1977) Yamaha XSD. Welcome to the Too Many Rides garage. So not only do I have to replace the speedometer cable, but I've got to get a new speedometer in here. And I've got spares. 24,000 miles on it. The biggest problem changing it over is the speedometer dampener. Now this is the one out of the spare that I received, probably off eBay, and it's toast. So it's really hard to get your speedometer out and save this. To change the speedometer, we're also going to have to open up the headlight because we need to unhook the bulbs and get some slack in those wires. It's been a long time since I've had this off of here. This is a 1981 special headlight shell and buckets. I'm using them because they're chrome as opposed to my original 77s in black, but I don't necessarily like the look that much, so if I ever get into it, I'll probably change it back to black. So the next thing we'll do is go ahead and get the proper wire for the two bulbs that go into the speedometer and unhook them so I can pull slack out. On these speedometers, you have a self-canceling turn signal on the bike, anyway, on my xs650. And the way that's working is you've got this sensor here that senses rotation of the speedometer drive, and you go about 2/10 or maybe it's 3/10 of a mile, and it automatically shuts off your signals. You've got a white with green and a black, and you need to search those out inside your headlight shell. Here's the white with green and the black. So we'll go ahead and disconnect those. This is a stock wiring harness here, and it can be pretty tough to get all the wires and the headlight installed. Notice I've left a space for the tail end of the headlight where the plug is, and that sits right back in here once everything's installed. So then there's the bulbs. We've got the black and the blue. So we'll just go ahead and remove the blue and the black. The black one's the ground, and it goes into the same terminal as that turn signal cancellation device. Okay, so now we're ready to feed those through and have slack on them when the time comes. I'm going to get these pulled through to where there's no or less interference from all the other wires, less disturbance. The outer sheathing on these being 1977 is pretty old and stiff. You could leave the bucket and just remove the speedometer from the bucket, pulling the wires through, but it really wouldn't be that much harder to take the bucket off. And if you had it off, it'd be easier to exchange speedometers, and I could clean it up around the backside where you never get a chance to. I'm going to have to use a 10mm wrench. Like I say, you can take the speedometer off by removing it from the bucket, but it's awful hard to deal with right here on the bike. I'm going to go ahead and remove the whole thing. That way I can fully service it. We have a a lock washer and a regular washer on those, which I've lost some of that on the ground, and some of it's right here in my hand. There's a castle nut, a flat washer, and a rubber bushing. The bolts that hold your speedometer bucket in place are sitting in a little valley here so that they won't turn when you're trying to install this on your framework there. You've got your speedometer dampener. Now this unit has a recess in it here where it fits to the bucket, which has a lip. You want to try to be careful of this. You could pull the speedometer straight out if it wasn't for the lip and the dampener's recess and the trip meter. Okay, you see how I'm getting this out of the groove? Just want to take it easy with it and go slow. Try not to rip it. Right here's a tough spot that's one to hang in the groove and one to rip just a little bit. It's really holding up right there. See that spot? See if we can get this to clear. Alright, finally. It wanted to rip right there, but I'm still in good shape. Let's get a little bit of slack here, and we should be able to pull out now the whole unit. Okay. There we go. We got our bulbs out, and we'll test those to see if they're good. Now we need to salvage the dampener. This is the hard spot because your trip meter doesn't come off, and you're going to have to carefully get this over that bulbous knob. This speedometer is bad. I may as well just hack that off of there. At least I won't have to traumatize my dampener more than once that way. Alright, well, let's try this again. Another method here might be to get the main portion of the dampener up and over the speedometer. You know, because I'd rather not destroy what's left of it. Alright, well, I got it off. It's pretty tortured, but it's still something. So we're going to try to use that one. But this one internally just won't spin, so I suspect this has went bad. If you harken back to the video, there was a horrible grinding sound. Finally, it locked up, and it busted my cable. If you look at the end of my cable, it was still good up into the speedometer, but when the speedometer locked up, it just twisted the cable off down below here. Twisted off about 1.25 inches of it, just what fits into the speedometer drive. I went into my spares and got a new cable, and I ended up pulling the outer off and saving the inner, and I'm going to put my outer housing on, and I've got a newly greased inner in there. So this is going to be really smooth, hopefully, once all is said and done. But I've got a little wiring to do because here's the speedometer I just took off. It's got good ends on it, but the one I'm going to put on has a bad end. I'm going to have to replace that. When you crimp these connectors, you're not only crimping the copper strands of wire, but you're clamping over a strain relief over the plastic housing. So there's your strain relief. That's the problem with solderless connectors you buy at the hardware store, they don't have any kind of strain relief, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen a wire get brittle and it breaks off where it was originally connected. And male and female both have a rubberized housing, so now you're ready to go, ready to hook up again. The bulbs that came out of my existing speedometer may be good or may not be good. We're going to find out right now. Got a little battery here for that. They're both lighting up. Again, I've been to the automotive supply house and bought bulbs, and they didn't last but a week or two, start going out again. So at one point years ago, I bought a whole supply of Yamaha brand bulbs. Obviously they don't make them, but I just get the feeling they're made to handle vibration a little more than your standard dash light bulb from an old car. Because I'm telling you, you don't want to be taking your speedometer apart every couple weeks to replace a bulb. And it's annoying when you don't have your speedometer lit up, or one bulb goes out, and it's annoying. It's embarrassing. Okay, so here we are with the tested bulb set, ready to go. And it kind of looks to me like it was going this way. That one popped in nicely. That one was easy. Okay, bolts installed. Now, the scary critical part. That's the older one. That's the one that came with this, with the tachometer out of this cluster. But we're gonna go with my old dampener and the new speedometer. Let's see how that goes. Okay. Without trouble. Careful. Avoid overstretching. Slip her down in place. Alright. Now we're talking. Alright, so I almost never take anything apart without putting it back together clean. Sometimes you'll find me doing that, but you know, if you're taking it apart, you need to clean it up too. And what we're going to do here is a little bit of chrome polish. This hasn't been cleaned since I put it on, and I put it on 15 years ago or more. It's not like I take my bike apart just to clean it, but not the Yamaha anyway. The Yamaha has been my utility vehicle for ever so long. But, as some of you may have seen, I have recently acquired a Honda xs650, which is going to become my utility vehicle a little more, or an alternative utility vehicle. In other words, a full, well-rounded vehicle. The NX I don't intend to take on the dirt, you know, in general, but I can ride all over on the pavement, and I have dirt bikes, so. Although I will say the Yamaha Twin is probably a better bike for high-speed stints down the freeway and such, you know, or just jumping on. Probably even better for getting groceries. So, what I think I'll do is just put my nuts on here for now, so I don't lose them inside. like so, during assembly here. I'm putting the nuts on so I don't lose these bolts up inside of there once I have the thing assembled. We need to feed these wires through. Stiff old wires. Through the wire outlet. So I think you can probably see the dilemma we've got now is how to get our speedometer dampener enclosed in the bezel. And it's a matter of just being careful. We'll do this here and I'll just put it on fast speed or something. So we have to get all this lip encompassed within there until we get to the recess in the dampener and get the lip in the groove properly. Then we'll be set. You got to get the leading edge of this started all the way around, like so. Then you can work it a little further. I'm applying a bit of pressure on the bucket and the speedometer to close them together and relieving bulging dampener in order to help shove this the rest of the way. And you got to be conscious of where your reset trip meter is protruding. So, you know, we're looking really good right now, but we're still not quite down and under. And it doesn't necessarily matter if your speedometer is out a bit at this point. What you're wanting to make sure is you've got the dampener under the lip of your bucket. And you've got the lip of the bucket right up in the dampener groove, recess, whatever. So that's where we're getting it right now. And you can inspect it here, see if it's fit into place, which now this is looking like it is all the way around. So that's good, and that actually gives you a little bit of play here with everything. And you know that you're slipping in nicely. When you've got that, there's no friction between the dampener, it's loose there. Now we need to pull this thing together with some rubber bushings. So those are shoulder bolts, and you can only tighten on so far. That leaves you room for a little bit of dampening there as well. And those take a flat washer on each side here. Castle nut. Alright, there you have it. Ready to reinstall. 24,836 miles on this one. And I'm very happy that it seems to work. I used a drill on it and got up to almost 20 miles an hour with my Makita. Oh, by the way, the speedometer cable travels counterclockwise. If you're going to try to put miles on or take miles off of a speedometer with a drill, which I tried to do one time, and I left it for hours and I only got a couple hundred miles. It takes a long time. And I'm glad I had this on hand. Your speedometer goes bad, wrecks your cable, and when you get home you can just replace those parts. Got them on the shelf. So to get things back together, you're going to need to feed your wires back through your headlight shell. I've got these loose bolts here, which are the precarious part of the whole job. And I don't need to lose those inside. You know, and what's hard about this, well, not necessarily hard, but tedious, is getting the washer, the lock washer, and the castle nut all installed without pushing your bolt up inside of there. Once again, lock washer, washer, castle nut. Washer, lock washer, castle nut, in that order. Okay, installed. Now we're going to get these wires hooked up again. They sure don't give you much room in here for all the stuff they're putting in. That's all I can say. Okay, well now it's all about the speedometer cable. I can see the bulb is lit in there, and then the bottom one is too. It's April 1st, 2021. Here's the latest on the Yamaha speedometer. I don't know where you left off, if you even left off. My speedometer went bad. I replaced it. The one I put in there seemed to be gummed up. The odometer was working properly, but the needle was running in gum and would not travel very well. Although somebody has told me about a potential fix for that without disassembling it, I have purchased a used speedometer here with 29,847, and this has run okay on a drill, so it's a working unit, but I have to take out my speedometer that's currently on the 650 and get this one installed. So hopefully this will be the end of it for a while, speedometer wise. I'm using chrome buckets, so I don't need this, but this one's actually in pretty good shape except for a paint job. It's kind of funny, it has a wear mark up the front of it, because this does too right there. Another thing about it, which I hate, although I see that they're making aftermarket dampeners, this one here doesn't have enough guts. It's a little bit squished out of place. And so I'm going to have to use the one off of my other speedometer. But it's getting tired of going on and coming off over the top of the reset knob. So I got to be careful and keep my fingers crossed. As you know from previous disassemblies and reassemblies, we're going to have to take the wires apart inside the headlight in order to pull this speedometer out of here. So now we'll have to undo the speedometer itself. These are always a pain in the ass, trying to put them on, trying to avoid losing them, keep dropping them. Okay, so we'll just feed these wires on through. Alright, let's get it out of this chrome bucket. Next thing I'm going to do is assess the condition of my dampener. Avoid ripping it too bad. It is wanting to tear in various locations, so I want to avoid tearing it any further. I better think about buying replacements to have on hand for the inevitable. Just doesn't want to let loose right here. Can I get this off of here without busting it the rest of the way up? It has some rips in this area. You can see it right there, and a crack along the side from pulling this off of my last speedometer and putting it on here. Alright, so we're going to see if we can get it off of here. Oh, just ripped it. Yeah, it's going to come off now. I might still be able to live with that. Really don't have any choice other than, I don't have any other choice other than using this one. And this one is squished down from sitting for too long. I don't relish taking speedometers out every day. Okay, so this one's gonna fly. Next, we need to check light bulbs and make sure we're getting a good set of light bulbs in it. Find out what kind of light bulbs these are. We're going to double check these once more before we go putting them in there. Okay, what we've got here is a little 12-volt battery with which to test these bulbs, and I've got them both grounded already. This one off of the new speedometer, or the used speedometer I just purchased, appears to have both bulbs working. So here we've got some bulbs for these things. Looks like a whole bunch there. These are ones I bought from Capital Yamaha a long time ago. Okay, I'm okay with that. That's good. Okay, now my best dampener. This one happens to be ripped here, so it's going to be easy to get over the reset knob, to say the least. Here's the tough part. Never has been my favorite thing to do. This may be a milestone. I've got it under the lip. So at this point we want to check to make sure we're lined up in the slot here. And now it's a matter of trying to squeeze it the rest of the way to the hilt. Okay, be careful now. Don't want to rip this. Don't want to do anything bad. I said to be careful. I think we're in the groove. Try to make the best out of that. I certainly could get rainwater in right here. But it's better than having nothing there. Let's double check those light bulbs. So we have both bulbs lighting. Next we'd like to get the speedometer to bucket grommets in place and get this thing bolted up tight. Before I go another step, I'm going to lube this. My last speedometer failed right up inside of here. Just it dried up too much. and you don't want to get a whole bunch of lubricant in there. It would be tough to apply grease manually. I've got here Cable Life. This is for cables. It's a lubricant here. You're probably familiar with it. And I'm going to ever so slightly spray that. Okay, that looks good. The smallest amount, but it's going to go right there on the housing of this. That feels good and smooth now. These turn in reverse, remember. Okay, I think it's ready to install. 1977 Yamaha speedometer changeout. We're almost done with this. This is the dreaded part where you could foreseeably lose your bolt up inside there and have to play that game of fishing it back through the hole, which is what I would try. Magnets, little pokers and stuff. Oh, I should have left those on. These darn things. I gotta get the wire started first, so I have to put these back on. But I guess if you think about this logistically, how much of a hassle those are. Okay, so yeah, I gotta feed the wires through partway. That would be step one. We can do this sensor wire first. Sensor wire is longer, so we do that one first. Then these two. I'm gonna need a pair of needle nose pliers or something. Okay, wires are fed through part way. Now, the plan is to carefully lower into position here. We're in position. Very difficult to get these washers, lock washers, and nuts in place on here. We have to hook the wires back up that go to the turn signal canceling device and to the instrument lights. Now, if you remember, the one for the sensor comes around from the back side of the ground terminal. Remember, we had to poke that one out. But I don't think that's it. I don't think we're barking up the right tree. Coming around from the back side into this ground terminal and a solid click into place. The other ground, opposite end, solid click into place. That can go ahead and stuff back in there a little bit. Here's our green with white. And now our blue. All right, so there's our blue. So when you're putting your headlight back in, you need to clear space in the center of a stock Yamaha headlight, because it's going to have to sit in there like so. And you hang the thing on the top here. You have to hang your top outer rim on, make sure it's down in place, and press this in and take a look. See if you're lined up. In my case, I need to come just clockwise a hair. Now I should be able to get one of the Phillips screws started. Pressing in a little bit. I give clearance through the hole to get the screw started. Same on this side. Excuse me, I'm going to turn the wheel a little bit here so I can get in on this. This is ridiculous. I'm having trouble seeing. Okay, I see what's wrong. Just like last time I put this together, I have a wire right in the, it's being pinched right in there in the rim. There, that even felt like it fit into place better. And your speedometer cable is going to have to be attached. So the question is, does that work? Is everything fixed? We'll see just how good it goes. We're going to do a little test ride on the speedometer. You're going to want to come along with us and make sure that this thing's working right. Looks like it's working. Alright, well, it's always something. I think we can call the speedometer saga done. I just did about a 20-mile ride and it worked flawlessly. The needle was very steady. Speedometer working good. This speedometer went on reading 29,000